Hello and welcome to Giant Mess, a super sloppy sports and entertainment podcast that's hosted by a giant mess. That's me, the real cinch, Neal Lynch. I'm a former fourth-string college quarterback and mediocre middle relief pitcher who earned himself a film and media studies degree. And now, I'm a single dad who loves to talk Giants football, Mets baseball, movies, TV, and comedy. On today's episode, we're going to look at the biggest stories and storylines for each month of the Mets 2025 season. And so, without further ado, get it started up in here. Looking at May 2025, the Mets 2025 season, 15-12. So we took a notable step back. We scored 133 runs in April. We only scored 107 in May. We gave up 12 more runs than we did in April, and our winning percentage was .556. So a decline, but still, you're playing above 500. That's acceptable baseball. That will at least put you in the conversation, the postseason conversation. So the major question coming out of April was, are the Mets for real? And May was a bit more of a wake-up call, kind of treading water, surviving, if you will. On May 4th, Wardy NYM on Twitter, Tyler, said the Mets have lost 13 games so far this season. In 11 of those losses, they lost by 2 runs or fewer. And in 6 of the last 7 losses, they lost by 1 run. So that was what was also encouraging. It's like, okay, we're winning a lot of games, but even in the losses, we're keeping it close and we have the potential to win. And that's just be in a position to win. That's all a baseball fan can ask for, is like, let's be competitive. Let's make them earn it. Let's make it tough on teams to beat us. So what was the story in every single one of those close losses? A lack of hitting with runners in scoring position. And sadly, I'm coming to you from the future in the month of August. Here to say, doesn't get better. There was maybe a 1 week or 2 week stretch where it was like, wow, we're really killing it with runners in scoring position, but it has been a season long battle to get that resolved, and it just hasn't worked. I mean, losing 2 or 3 of the Twins was just inexcusable. That's another series you're going to look back at and say, fuck, if we took 2 or 3 from them, then we wouldn't have to be a wild card. So in the 4-3 loss to the Twins, we were 3 for 12 with runners in scoring position, leaving 9 on base. 5-4 loss to the Nats, and an 8-7 loss to the Nats. We left 13 guys on base in those 2 one-run losses. In 2 one-run losses to the D-backs, we left 20 guys on base, going 0 for 12 with runners in scoring position over those 2 losses. And then we went 6 for 16, leaving 22 guys on base, and in 2 one-run losses to the Cardinals. So that's, and it's like, if you just, in every single one of those games, it's like if you just get hit. Hit, like one more hit. If you just get 1, the ball game's tied. If you get 2, those are all wins. So again, we could be looking back at this and saying, hot damn, that's 6 losses? That could be wins. Could come back to bite you. On May 5th, Michael Barron tweeted, the Mets went 6 for 26 with runners in scoring position in their doubleheader on Sunday, hitting just .229, .332, and .399, so less than 400 OPS, going 70 for 306 with runners in scoring position so far in this season. And with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, we're 32 for 142. So it's a .225 batting average, .331 OPS. Barf. And I just saw it again, last night against the Giants at home. Bases juiced in the 10th. Mauricio up. He takes a ball outside and just watches 2 straight strikes and then swings and misses at the 3rd. It's just like, hot damn. In terms of most losses by 1 run during the 2025 season as of May 5th, the Mets had 7, tied for the Yankees for third most. The Red Sox had 9 and the White Sox had 8. Of course, the White Sox have been in full-on tank mode for most of the season. The Red Sox, we were like the win whisperer for the Red Sox. Like we played them in a very like scoring deprived series, and then that's when they kind of turned it around, and now they're looking like they could be a wild card. And the Yankees just made a bunch of moves at the deadline, so I think that they have refortified for the home stretch. We had the 3-game set in early to mid-May, right before Mother's Day against the Cubbies at home, taking 2 of 3, could have potentially swept. So that was good to see. I know that we've had our issues with the Cubs ever since taking them down in the NLCS in 2015. So, the Cubs are another team where it's like hard to get a pulse on them, Like there was talk about like, oh, the Cubs are back. They're so back. And then the majority of the feedback I've got from people or seeing online is like they really whiffed on the trade deadline. So it's like, could they fall out of contention? Would be nice. More for us. New York Mets stats at NYM Stats on May 12th tweeted this: the most walk-off RBIs in Mets history. Pete Alonso is now tied for third with Kevin McReynolds at 8. You have Rusty Staub tied for fourth with Ed Kranepool with 7. You have David Wright, one notch above Alonso and McReynolds at 9. And you got our boy, Mr. Crybaby himself, Wilmer Flores. Crybaby obviously referenced the Johnny Depp movie, which I've never seen, but I know exactly what the cover looks like. It's just peak Johnny Depp with a single tear rolling down his cheek. That's Wilmer Flores. 10 walk-off ribbies from Wilmer. Crazy. But Alonso had 8, and then did he get his 9th? He might have got his 9th. I'm not sure. Mets still have the best rotation in baseball as of May, had the best rotation in baseball as of May 16th. But you can see the wheels starting to come off. For instance, Tyler McGill had a 7.23 ERA over the last 4 starts heading into May 17th, and the Mets lost all 4 of those games, allowing 18 hits, 11 walks, 3 home runs, and 18 2/3. Had the hot April, as he always does. But, yeah, got to figure it out, man. He wants to be the guy. He's been on record saying, I want to be a starter. I want to be in the rotation. I want this. I want that. And you have hope for him because you see what's happened with David Peterson. You see what's happening with Tyler's brother, who is an all-star with the Twins, Trevor, or maybe the Padres. I forget. But it's like you see it. You see the potential. It's just like consistency, dude. That's what it's all about. Consistency over intensity. Learned that from Peloton. And Soto continuing to struggle in May. 792 OPS, which, I mean, still better than a lot of the guys on the team and a lot of guys that play right field across the league, but not exactly what you're hoping for, considering he put up, a 989 OPS with the Yankees last season. Was managing only a 234 batting average with 4 home runs and 15 ribbies in 27 games during May. The advanced metrics suggested he was making quality contact but experiencing poor luck with results, and his expected slugging percentage significantly outpaced his actual production. His passive approach at the plate became a concern during May, as he offered at only 53% of pitches in the strike zone, tied for 3rd lowest rate of any month in his career. The overly patient approach often led to unfavorable counts and limited his ability to drive in runs with runners in scoring position. Things got even more emotional and intense, and the microscope was trained on Juan Soto. He was under the spotlight. He was under the heat lamp heading into the May 16th to 18th Subway Series at Yankee Stadium. By the way, the bleacher creatures like turning their back on him. Like Mets fans catch a lot of shit. And you know what? Rightfully so. We do a lot of weird stuff. I get it. Some of us think, a lot of people think we're a circus, and we embrace that. We embrace the quirkiness and the bizarre nature of our fandom and the organization and all the wacky stuff that goes on. How dumb is that move by the bleacher creatures? collectively turning your back on a player. And I guess it worked because Soto struggled. He really struggled in his return to Yankee Stadium and did not really play the way we would have hoped in such a, you could say big series. Ultimately, it's because it's the Yankees. It's an AL East team. So, like, when it comes down to it, it's like I'd rather, I'm fine with losing to the Yankees as long as we beat the Phillies and the Brewers and the Dodgers and the Padres and the Cubs, like the top NL dogs. So, I never really got into that whole Mets versus Yankees thing. I just, there are some people that get way too into it, and it's just like, dude, I do not. It's so at the bottom of my list of concerns. Like, it's nice to beat them for sure, just to see the Yankees fans' reactions to it. But it's like, it's just, it's not a motivator for me. But like, to see the bleacher creatures turn their back on him, so fucking funny, dude. Like how, oh my God, just so dumb. Yankees took 2 of 3 games here. They dominated game 1, 6-2. Soto had 3 walks, but no hits. We won game 2, 3-2 on May 17th. Lindor with the clutch hitting, game-winning sacrifice fly. And then the series concluded with an 8-2 Yankees win on May 18th with a crucial error by Pete Alonso that opened the floodgates for 6-run Yankees rally. So, listen, I think Pete's defensive prowess has improved over his career. I think this is still the best we've seen him defensively. Does he still give me palpitations when he's trying to track a pop-up in foul territory? Yeah. For sure. When he has to make a relay throw, am I banking on a good, solid strike to the plate? No. But with the glove, his ability to pick, his ability to field his position it's better than what we've expected. Because, it was always a knock on him, like defensively. He's just garbage defensively. He's so poor defensively. He's just a liability. And it's like, I don't think that's the case. Majority of the time, he's playing average to above average defense. And I'm sure the stats won't back that up, but just from watching games, it's like, how many, at least once a week, you say, whoa, what a play by Alonso. We were the only team without a 3-game losing streak through that point in the season. And boy, would that change. Juan Soto was hitting 246, 376, and 439 with an 815 OPS at this point. And that's better than most of the Mets that were giving us innings in right field last season. If you look at the right fielders last season, they had a 709 OPS, slightly higher batting average, but lower slugging percentage and on base percentage. So, again, I know Mets fans don't want to hear it. We're not looking for a slight improvement. We're not looking for a 1 WAR. But you look at WAR across the board for this team, and Soto's heads and tails above everyone else. 4.2 WAR thus far through August 1st. The next closest there are Nimmo and Lindor at 2.8 and Alonso at 2.5. So, I think people want him to be a 6 WAR. And it's like, could he still achieve that? Possibly. You come up with another month like he did in July, even though we didn't win a ton we weren't like lights out. If you can get another month like that, it's possible. So, the hate for Soto, and listen, I'm not completely knocking it. Perception is reality, and the perception is this guy does not want to be here. Majority of the time you see him on the screen, it's like he doesn't have that same level of energy and pep I mean, I remember. I mean, he played for the Nats for years, right? And every time we faced him, it's like he's doing this thing where he's crouching at the plate and he's staring down the pitcher and he's these gestures and things. And maybe it's just a case of he's getting older and he doesn't feel like he has to do that anymore. He feels like he's established and he feels like he's now the veteran. That's not who he should be anymore. But I think Mets fans were expecting that, or at least we were hoping for that, because it gave us a little flavor, a little seasoning, a little spice. And so far, we haven't, for the most part, have not seen that. Now, there's stuff happening off the field, in the dugout, in the locker room, in the clubhouse that we're not seeing. And as far as I can tell, there hasn't been a huge rift. Like, you're not picking up on any rift. Like, I think back to the Lindor-McNeil squabble in 21, where it's like they're trying to claim they saw a giant rat, having an argument in the tunnel back to the clubhouse, the locker room. I don't get that sense. So it's not, if anything, it's not like he has any beef with the current players. I think he's just, there's been talk about the fact that he wanted to stay with the Yankees, but his family wanted him to go to the Mets, and so he did it for his family, and so it wasn't a personal decision, and so now is he regretting it and saying, I should have followed my instinct, should have followed my heart? Did he, I think he, I don't think it was an act what you saw with him last year. He was smiling a lot more. I mean, I haven't seen a ton of smiling out of him with the Mets, but I think he really did love playing with Aaron Judge and hitting in that lineup and playing in that stadium for those fans. I think he really did enjoy that and like that. And if his family was the ultimate factor in deciding that, there has to come a point, and this is, again, he's still young, 27, right? I think he's 27. That's still fairly young. I know, like, in pro sports, that's like, okay, mid-career towards, you're now entering the latter half of your career as you approach 30. But eventually you got to say, I made a commitment. I need to honor that commitment. And, I don't see this as a Jack Parker scenario. Jack Parker infamously signed by the Cleveland Indians in Major League 2, huge free agent acquisition at the catcher position, made all the women in Cleveland swoon, and then eventually he got traded to the White Sox and it made him barf. I don't think that's the case here. I don't know that I see that happening. That would be, you want to talk about debilitating. You already look at the back half of that contract and you say, the last 5 years are a wash. You're not going to probably get much for him. You're going to have to eat that. You don't want to have to eat so many years of a contract. So we'll see. But I'm not one of those fans. It's like he's a bum and he's not worth it. And look at him, he's miserable and he misses. I'm sure he does miss the Yankees a little bit. I'm sure he did. That was a great team. Went to the World Series. Magical season, his best season as a pro. So yeah, I can understand that. But ultimately, the way I see it, and I know I'm, knock on wood, I'm jinxing the piss out of this dude. I get it. But it's hard not to think about him being in the Mets Hall of Fame, getting his number retired, leading. Alonso, it's great to see what he's been able to do in terms of climbing up the leaderboard amongst franchise records and highs. Soto will or should surpass all that. He, if the projections are true, if he's able to maintain consistency and be able to do what he's done throughout the start of his career, and you look at some of the names he's been mentioned with through age 27 season, it's like it would have to take something, and this is where Mets luck comes into play. It would have to take something catastrophic for him not to achieve that stuff. And this is where he gets into an Uber accident. He loses the feeling in his left hand or something like that. Dear God. Thanks for putting that out in the universe, Neal. You're welcome. So, yeah, 1 for 22 slump with runners in scoring position. You can't have it. All you need is it's just ugh. May 20th, the Mets were tied for the National League's second best record. The club has by far the largest attendance increase in Major League Baseball, and Juan Soto is a big part of that. May 21st versus the Red Sox, we had our first 3-game losing streak of the season. I think we were the first club to reach 40 wins, and then it's been a slog since then. We were not the first team to reach 50, and I don't think we were the first team to reach 60 either. But we were the first team to reach 40. So hang that banner. Both A.J. Minter and Danny Young, team's top 2 left-handed relievers, will require season-ending surgeries. Minter completely tore his lat muscle off the bone. Oof. Anytime something comes off the bone, it's like, unless you've been slow cooking that shit for a full day, it always sends shivers up my spine. So that has a 10 to 12 month recovery timeline. Holy fuck. He had been pitching well. 1.64 ERA, 14 strikeouts in 11 innings. 2-year, $22 million contract with an opt-out clause that he now would be unable to exercise. So I guess that's the silver lining there is like, okay, we're not going to have him for the beginning of next season, most likely. But if he can come back and pitch at that level that he was before the injury in 2026, then you got to feel a lot better at your bullpen. Danny Young required Tommy John surgery for a left elbow ligament sprain, ends his 2025 season, and sidelines him for most of 2026. Woof. Paul Blackburn was working his way back from an injury, and I'm here to tell you he nope. Hasn't really worked out for him. Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas remained on their rehab assignments, and boy, those were tough stats to look at. You know, normally you have a rehab start, it's like you're working on some things, and, you know, typically you would think, oh, major league level starter should be able to go in and dominate against a AA, AAA squad, but that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to work on some things, and they're not, you know, it's working on things. But the numbers that they were putting up, Montas and Manaea and their rehab starts, were something different. It was like, whoa, they're not ready. Like, I don't know. I look at those numbers and I say to myself, they're not ready. I don't know how you can look at them and be like, look at those numbers and see those outings and be like, yep, they're ready. So that was concerning. And to have them and be like, all right, we're, because they would, whenever they would make their debut back at the major league level, they pop up the graphic with their minor league numbers, and you're like, are we completely sure about this move? Like, it's okay if they need maybe one more start to bring those numbers down. We managed only a 195 batting average with runners in scoring position. Ugh. Are you getting sick of that yet? I think I am. So, Pete Alonso's production declined significantly. He hit .234 with 4 home runs and 15 RBIs in May. There was talks about him being an MVP. He was certainly performing at that level early on in the season, but it was, significant drop-off. Brandon Nimmo emerged as one of the most consistent offensive performers. And then they recalled Brett Beatty from AAA Syracuse on May 5th, and this is probably the best, he's played as a Met so far. Is it enough to make you think that there's something there? Yeah. Just got to keep it up. Jesse Winker went down with an injury. He eventually would come back after a very extensive rehab. I think it was an oblique or lat situation. And then he immediately, within a week, a couple days, he got hurt again. It sounds like Mendoza is kind of not too keen on what's going on with Winker, at least from what I heard from the booth, them relaying that news of frustrating. We want him back. What's going on? Why the delay? We need him back. And it just seems like it's just taking forever. So that's been a real downer because, nice to have that left-handed bat in the lineup. Clay Holmes has exceeded expectations, developed a kick change pitch. Multiple Mets starters have adopted this offering. And my God, I used to love throwing I had a circle change, but I used to love throwing that and watch it just drop off the table and just, so nice. Kodai Senga's dominance continued through most of May. He led the NL in ERA. Of course, that didn't last long. He got hurt again. Luckily, it wasn't as bad as last season, but Lindor became the first player since Wilmer Flores to deliver at least 3 walk-off RBIs in a season. David Peterson had a 2.79 ERA in 10 starts, and that would only get better. And it was really a test of organizational depth in May that would only become more difficult in June. And for that reason, I think Mendoza deserves consideration. And Stearns, the amount of shuffling and juggling that they had to do, the chainsaws that were in the air that needed to be juggled was just I don't know how they did it because that was like incredible. Every day it was like, we got to send this guy down, bring this guy up. It was, literally just amazing that they were able to withstand that. So then that's May. Yeah, so that's it for this episode. In terms of future Mets content, future Mets episodes, we're going to look at the Mets all-quarter century team. So it's the best Mets team. So it's the Mets team of the 2000s, the 21st century, through 25 years, from 2000 to 2025. Who's our Mets team? Looking at each position there. We're also going to try and rank the Athletic put out like the best MLB's 25 best games of the 2000s, which I'm not like crazy about their list. The Mets had 2 slots on that list, which very interesting, the games that they chose over 25 years. And then we're going to look at, that inspired me to take a look at the 25 best New York Mets games of the 2000s. But for now, you can expect in some future episodes, we got a review of the movie Sinners. We got a review of the movie Jurassic World Rebirth. We got a review of the movie Superman. We got a review of the movie Fantastic Four, First Steps. So, and by the time I'm done with all that, I'm going down to South Carolina, and that we'll be down there for a week. So probably no new content or episodes coming out during that week. Gonna spend some quality QT with the fam, and then come back, and I have that next week pretty much to myself. So I'll be cranking out some movie reviews there, and then we start to get into the nitty-gritty with the Mets. I have no intention of talking about training camp for the Giants, although Abdul Carter does make me excited, and I've heard good things about Russell Wilson. So lots of stuff on the horizon. But for now, grazie. Thanks for listening, and thank you for watching. And we'll talk to you soon. Adios, muchachos.